Yeah. So hey everyone, my name is Dante Swinton. I'm running for Baltimore City Mayor. I'm really excited about it. I'm going to be the youngest candidate in the race this year, but I'm also going to be the most progressive candidate in the race. So hopefully you'll join me, and I'm going to go over just the basic top line points of my campaign, and then in future videos I'm going to actually go more in depth on each one that I feel is the most important to talk about. So first, I want us to divest from over-policing and invest in communities. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, this year we're about to spend $530 million on policing. Last year we spent $500 million on policing. The year before we spent $480 million on policing. We've been going up and up, but what did we have to show for it? Still 300 something homicides, uh, hundreds and hundreds of non-fatal shootings, hundreds of non-violent crimes, robberies and the like, and nothing changes. Nothing has changed, and that's because we haven't dealt with the real root causes of these issues. And so that's what I want to do. I want the city to have direct reinvestment into what I call peace zones, poverty erasure and community enhancement zones. And so we would invest $600 million over the next 4 years into 24 different communities, with $25 million going to each one. And in that, we would spend money on renovating homes and rebuilding them and offering those homes to folks with 30 to 60% AMI. Mental health facility establishment, rec centers, job creation through business grants, and the like. And so I'll talk more about that in the other video, but nevertheless, it's time that we actually put money into the community and not try to just police everything out, as we've been doing for decades. Also, I want to slash the real property tax by 25%, and that is something that I feel most candidates are not going to talk about. I register that we do need a tax base, and that is very important, but I also realize that those property taxes are limiting some folks from being able to afford purchasing a house or staying in it, and keeping folks from wanting to invest and actually create businesses here in Baltimore. So I am willing to adjust that tax rate down 25% to $1.68 and 6 tenths from the current level, or now versus the current level, and make sure that we concentrate the new developments into these communities where they can work at these new businesses, where they can thrive in these homes that are going to be built in the near future, and just be able to lift up that community in its entirety. So I'll talk more about that later. I also want to create thousands of jobs through a zero-waste economy. My primary work is as a community organizer in the city. What I believe in is making sure we have clean air and clean surfaces, all that good stuff. And the way to do that is through a zero-waste economy. That means trying to recycle and compost as much as possible in order to make money off of that for the city and to provide thousands of jobs. Think about it. Well, think about this for now. If we as a country could hit even a 75% recycling rate, right now it's 34% nationwide, we could add $4.5 trillion to the nation's economy by 2030 if we just decided to recycle and compost and reuse and remanufacture more. And that means thousands of jobs for Baltimoreans. That means some $700+ million invested into this community simply because we've decided to go in a different direction with the way we handle our waste. And instead of burning it at the incinerator in South Baltimore, we actually handle that material in a much more sustainable way. In tandem with that, I want to establish a living wage. Right now, I mean, we're not where we need to be. There's no place in this country that pays a minimum wage and you can actually live there on that in a 2-bedroom apartment for yourself and spouse and 1 or 2 kids or what have you. Nowhere. So why would we not want to adjust wages in order for us to strengthen ourselves? and lift everybody up. So what I propose is that we hit $18 an hour by 2024. That would start with a $14.50 an hour wage by the middle of 2022. What people don't realize when we talk about these living wages is that they are still paying for people to survive, but on the back end. So say a server has to depend on you for your tips, and then they have to depend on one of the government assistance programs to make ends meet, whether that's SNAP, TANF, Earned Income Tax Credit, Medicaid. Because they're not making enough on the front end, they have to get money and support from the back end, and you're still paying for that. The average American pays over $800 toward government assistance programs every year. So if we're paying people better on the front end, that means less money has to go to them on the back end. And that means everybody wins at that point, because that way we can focus that money that's not going to these folks who are struggling to survive into even more effective ways of lifting up our economy. Next, I want to sell off all the city's properties at a fire sale rate. So basically, anywhere from $5,000 to $60,000, but they're going to be specifically sent to, or specifically required to be a zero waste business, to be a clean energy business, to be a zero waste restaurant. It's going to have to be nonprofits that could purchase these. It's going to be multiple versions of business types, but they have to be sustainable in order to qualify to purchase one of these properties. But the more that happens, the more we can thrive and the faster we can thrive. And on top of that, we're raising money to go towards transit. We obviously need the red line, and we've got to do something better.